This is a platform where we bring on successful people to talk about how they thrive in their careers, live a fulfilling life, and pursue their passions. Today we have a special guest, a dear friend of mine, one of the top realtors at Keller Williams, and an equestrian. This is an equestrian that we have on the show, started in the managing farms and working with horses, and came to Chicago and has taken the Chicago by storm. She's works in the South Side, among many areas in Chicago and in the Illinois area, and helps investors, first-time home buyers, and many other clientele, as she's a top producer, one of Chicago's not ones to watch, but just the one. So she's featured in Chicago Agent magazine. She's a fantastic person. The list goes on of all of her accomplishments. Welcome to the show, Jessica Teuthorn.
All right. Thank you so much for the awesome intro, RJ. I'm happy to be here with you.
Glad to have you. Glad to have you. We're going to get right into it. We have a ton of questions. We like to break it up into segments, but just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are now in real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Jessica Teuthorn. Grew up here in the Chicago suburbs. Both of my parents grew up in the city and just hated the city life, wanted to get us out, get some more land. So we grew up in the suburbs, and the second I got back into Chicago after turning 21, I fell in love with the city and made that pivot. But yeah, really started my working career off in the equestrian world. Grew up riding, training, owning horses, and managing farms for several years. It was when I got down to Ocala, Florida in the wintertime. We'd bring all of our horses down that way, that I saw all of these luxury equestrian estates being sold. And I was like, maybe I should pivot to real estate instead of, chasing money, managing these farms. My parents had a background in real estate, which never really was on my radar until I had kind of considered sales. And then I was like, oh, wait, we have all this background in interior design and home staging. And my dad DIY'd every project growing up in every single house that we moved to, and always rented them out when we moved on to the next one. So we built our little, investment pool from there. And, I grew up with a sledgehammer helping him do work. So it was really fitting the second that clicked in my brain that real estate was right for me. We just jumped all in.
And to the audience, that's 100% true. She's hands-on. She does repairs for clients. So clients and potential clients think of that. She does do that. She's very hands-on with the DIY stuff.
Absolutely.
That's incredible. So you have a family full of investors and landlords. Your father was a landlord and mother in staging. A lot of entrepreneurship. How did that influence your career now?
Yeah, I think I didn't really think much of it while I was growing up, and then, working for farms. I also have a background in bartending and in the service industry. I had all these things that I was super passionate about, but I was never passionate about being somebody's employee. I never wanted to listen to authority. There were always ways that I wanted to do things, my way, or implement different changes, and bosses weren't always receptive to that. So as soon as I, spent a couple of years in the workforce, I was like, okay, I absolutely want to do my own thing and be my own boss. So real estate was, really kind of the perfect avenue to go towards.
I think that's how most people, I know, including myself, I couldn't work under someone. I don't know what gene that is. I think it is a part of the upbringing.
Absolutely. I would rather struggle on my own than, build success or build an empire for somebody else.
Which actually, brings me to that question. With entrepreneurship and being your own boss, there are a lot of struggles and also triumphs. Yeah. What's been sort of the challenge being your own boss?
Yeah, lots of challenges there. Definitely consistency and just being able to, keep yourself motivated and inspired. So I really lean a lot on my coach, my accountability partners, and peers within the office, and working on building out my team now. So hopefully I'll have, a closer knit support system around me, but I've always had support from my family and others at my brokerage, others within the YPN committee. And I've always reached out to whoever was around to really kind of,
Yes.
get a good tribe going. It helps keep me motivated. Sometimes I love being by myself doing my own thing, but it also really helps to have others around too on those days where you're just not feeling it.
100%. 100%. I'm with you. The support team is everything for entrepreneurs because we're oftentimes alone, whether in the car, driving from the suburb to the city, or if it's just working on admin tasks, we're by ourselves. We don't necessarily have that team. So the support is huge for us.
Oh,
as
absolutely.
entrepreneurs. Yeah, I think. So what does your typical day in the life of Jessica Teuthorn look like?
Yeah. So one thing I love about real estate is that every day is different.
Yes.
In working on consistency, I'm working on, building some better habits of being in the office a certain set of hours and not deviating from that.
Totally.
But I like to have a slow morning. So trying to get up as early as I can so I have time to relax, get ready, have that coffee without clients blowing up my phone. That's not always the case. So typically I'm getting ready with my laptop out, answering emails, blow drying my hair at the same time, and then really getting out there and running around to do whatever I need to do, whether that's showings. Again, I'm really hands-on. We have a lot of projects going on for investor clients. So I'm usually meeting with contractors or helping make sure they get through with those deadlines as well. And then if there's nothing on the agenda to be done at the office or showings on the books, then we're always out at some kind of training, whether that's, with vendor partners that I have, going to different networking events, or going to broker tours and open houses. That's something I do a lot of to make sure I stay up on the inventory and then also help, with my networking in the industry as well.
Which is great. And you need that important hour or two in the morning to yourself.
Yeah.
Before you go into a long day that you go into, because that silence, it's kind of serene.
It's really the only time you're going to get it.
Exactly.
I keep thinking I'll squeeze in some me time, at other points in the day, and then life happens, real estate happens, emergencies come up all the time. People call my phone until 9, 10 p.m.
Exactly.
So I don't really get that time to relax unless it's before everybody else wakes up.
Exactly. I mean, because people are up late at night.
Yeah.
But no one's really up in the morning. Unless you
we're
have
learning
a
to be a
job.
morning person.
It kind of forces you to be a morning person, being a successful entrepreneur. They say 5 a.m., 4 a.m. are the typical times that successful people wake up. I think that's true.
Yeah.
Because that time in the beginning is so important to just have to yourself. Because even the weekends, you work on the weekends too.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
I work when my clients aren't working, right? So mostly on the weekends, mostly in the evening after hours or when we're actually out there in the field.
Wow.
During the weekdays, there's a lot of admin stuff that needs to be done, a lot of networking stuff going on, or educational events, coaching, all of that good stuff that's on the schedule, on a day-to-day basis, lead generation. But once the weekend hits, you're out there really running around.
It's busy. It's busy. What keeps you motivated in the busyness of your day-to-day?
Yeah, I mean, just that every day is different. Having something to do differently each day is exciting. It's not the same boring task over and over again. The industry can definitely get a little bit stale, but, I get inspired every time I have a new project on the horizon or a new committee that I'm on or something new to plan. We've got a lot of events coming up, especially this time of year where we're really kind of stepping back from the day-to-day sales as the market slows down and focusing on those client relationships heading into the new year. So that kind of stuff keeps me excited. I love to get everybody together in one place and have a good time.
Definitely. And that's important as well. And the accreditations that you have, I was just thinking about that. I failed to mention it in the intro, but you have
There's
a lot of different, there are a lot. And so you do manage a lot. What are those accreditations again, just for the audience that doesn't know?
Yeah, so I'm an accredited buyer's representative and a seller's representative specialist through the National Association of Realtors. So both of those were programs that we had to go through some extensive coursework on, meet a certain level of deals, as well as some prerequisite courses as well. So on top of that, I had ended up earning my PSA, my pricing strategy advisor certification, and the real estate negotiation expert
Oh my
certification
goodness.
as well.
Wow.
So a lot of that came from just wanting to fill my time when I was new with classes and different things to do, get my continuing education hours on something that, I could actually apply to my career instead of the basic continuing ed classes.
Right.
So I tried to take as many, higher level courses as I can. And I love throwing some letters behind my name.
I mean, and it really separates you from a lot of the other realtors, right? I mean, how
Yeah.
does that differentiate yourself?
Yeah, I think it just ensures that we have that background training there to be able to serve our clients in the highest and best way possible. Make sure that we're keeping up, with ethical standards and that we're able to, really hear our clients' needs and get the right game plan going. Also, there are separate referral groups for people in the association who have those designations. So a lot of the times, if I have a seller in another state, I want to make sure I know that this person has the background and training to be able to serve my client to the best ability. So if there isn't somebody I know in that area that's already crushing it, then I'll usually go back to those referral sources and kind of look through who has those designations to at least make sure that they're well equipped to get the deal done.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's great. That's something that clients appreciate.
Yeah, I hope so.
I think that they do. Is there a turning point, Jessica, that stands out in your career so far?
Yeah, definitely the decision to go full time.
I agree.
I had been involved in the service industry prior as well, so real estate felt very full time, but I did still have other obligations outside of that made it difficult to give like 100% of my attention to real estate.
Yes.
So I left my bartending job in August of last year, and this has been the completion of my first full year full time actually. So
did
that
not
was
know
an
that.
exciting transition. It really helped me, nail down that consistency of the business. It's tough when you don't know exactly when your next paycheck is going to show up in your account. So really getting that push was a turning point to make sure I started running my business like a business, that I focused on lead generation and growth and making sure that I served my clients, to the highest and best possible way.
I did not know that. I didn't know. So this is your first full year.
First full-time year, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I was working 3 days a week prior at a bar, so I was pretty full-time, but,
Right.
it was distracting.
No, but I mean that's fantastic because I say all the time it's like full-time results, part-time results. But I mean, in the sense of you were part-time getting those full-time results. So
that was a huge changing point for me, and so was COVID times. That was a tough, part of the industry as well. I kind of went back home to the suburbs and sat at my family's farm for a while, like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? The bar I was at the time closed permanently, so I was lucky to get a little bit of unemployment from that too.
True.
But that's where I really started, my jump into the south side of Chicago. So I had, it all started with one investor client who brought me down that way, wanted to flip some homes. The first property we bought was through an online auction. So it was my first time doing an online auction, first time working with a flipper client. And we renovated that property all through 2020.
Wow.
We were supposed to build a second home on the adjoining lot. And with new construction costs rising so much, we had to really pivot with our plans.
Totally.
And, even in the middle of a pandemic, we were able to get that job done,
impressive.
get a record price for that block. And that just started, a lifelong relationship between me and that client.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
It's very impressive. Now, I want to transition into lifestyle and balance here.
Sure.
So what does a fulfilling life mean to you?
Yeah, for me, I think a fulfilling life is being able to inspire those around me and truly make an impact on their lives. I want to help all my friends and family set themselves up so that they can retire early, have great investments out there, and really make sure that they take advantage of the real estate space while they have the opportunity to. So any way I can inspire people makes me feel truly happy. And then, being able to invest for myself and build that portfolio of properties so that someday, my family has that to lean back on. I can retire early and, go sit on that boat in Europe and not need to worry about doing transactions on a day-to-day basis.
I love that. The way that you're working, you're going to get there sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Managing that work and the life there, how do you do it? Because you're working really like 15 hours a day. Right?
Yeah. I wouldn't say my work-life balance is great. I'm young, I'm single, I don't have kids, so I don't have this, family life that I really need to be at home. A lot of my friends are, enjoying nightlife, so I do still have the flexibility to go enjoy those things. Again, it makes it a little bit tough when I have to be up early in the morning. I have to tell a lot of my friends now, like, hey, I'm done by midnight, and a lot of times they're not even going out until 1. So, mitigating that is rough, but I'm not a huge party girl anyways, so I don't mind missing out on that stuff. And I'm truly passionate about real estate.
Yes.
So for me, it is fun and relaxing to go spend the day at Merchandise Mart, having a margarita and looking at different tile and stone choices there. I spend a lot of time in networking events and brokers opens, which are a lot of fun for me as well. So a lot of that I feel like is personal time versus sitting in the office. But, my love for real estate truly does blend into my personal life as well. So there's not a whole lot of separation between personal and business time. But
that's great. One thing that really hit home there for me was the letting your friends know, like, hey, I can't be out until midnight, and I just can't. A lot of people, I feel, they are peer pressured into going out until the late hours of the night. We've all been there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
4 a.m.
Been there, done that.
And there's a point in time where you're like, I'm serious about my career. I need sleep, and I need to get up early so that I can be at my best. So I think that's really admirable and a good trait for anyone coming up and wanting to be successful. So that's great.
Yeah, I think it changed my perspective with a lot of my friends and family as well too. You always assume that these people are going to rely on you and come to you with referrals and questions, but that really didn't happen as much from my friends until I kind of put those boundaries in place. They saw me leading a more professional life. And then now they have a little bit more respect for what I do. Not that they didn't respect me before, but I feel like I'm being seen in a different light by putting my foot down and not being out until 4 a.m.
And you scream professionality.
Thank you.
And professionalism. The way that you work is professional, but also very approachable, and it helps clients and also the people that you work with. So that's important. Let's talk about routines and habits. So we talked a bit about the morning routine. What habit or routine is something that you stand on and believe in and encourage others to do too?
Yeah, that's tough. I'm still working on the good habits. I would say definitely getting to bed at a decent time and getting up as early as you can. Super scary habit and something that I am, still diligently working towards, but just trying to do a little bit better each day until that habit builds up, and then I can work myself earlier and earlier. So right now I'm, getting up at 7 a.m. I'm no 5 a.m.er, but the goal is to get to that 5 a.m. point slowly but surely, and then making sure that I take that time to kind of knock out anything that has to get done first thing in the morning. So making sure I have a list of people that I need to call or reach out to that day, that I either check the MLS or Zen list for any clients who are looking for new stuff, check my email, all of those tasks that are on my to-do list, trying to get those done before I get out of the house and start running around. So once I'm in the car all day, there's not a whole lot I can get done from there. So I'm a little bit slow to get emails back and stuff as the day goes on. So trying to do that first thing in the morning, and trying to pick up reading instead of being on my phone and laptop so much. Yeah.
Anything that you're reading now or love to read now?
While we are in business planning mode for the end of the year, I am rereading Millionaire Real Estate Agent by Gary Keller, along with The One Thing, and Atomic Habits is a book that I'm going through right now as well.
That's a great book. That is a fantastic book.
So all classics there.
So the key trends in real estate right now, what are you seeing now for buyers and sellers?
Yeah, so I'm seeing a lot of people pivot towards buying a multifamily investment as their first property. I think that that's something that not a lot of first-time home buyers or people that are new to Chicago are even thinking about. The opportunities that we have here in the multifamily space are really unique compared to some other areas in Illinois or, in the rest of the United States. So there's a lot to take advantage of there. I think house hacking is great
Yes.
for those that are willing to, be a landlord. It does come with its share of,
Totally.
cons essentially
Sure,
as
sure,
well.
sure.
But I think that that's something we're going to see a lot of young buyers doing more and more in the coming years, as well as looking at, value add projects or those granny specials with inventory being so low right now. Clients aren't checking all of their boxes.
Right.
So I like to let my clients know to focus on location,
Yes.
layout, functionality of the home, as well as, overall structural soundness. But the paint color, the kitchen cabinets
Yes.
that you don't like, that can all change. And you may be waiting forever. You may price yourself out of the market if you wait to find this home that checks every single box versus getting something at a little bit better of a deal that you can then put your own personality on. So I think that's something we'll see more of into the next year, as well as new construction too.
I agree with you. I agree with you. The house hacking is a tool that we're afraid of, but now that
Yeah.
it's more common, people are like, hey, I want to jump in on this too, because it is financially smart and savvy.
Yeah, and that rental income from those other units
Yes.
helps you qualify for a larger investment as well.
Interesting.
So you build your net worth a lot quicker when you're able to buy a $500,000 multifamily instead of a $250,000 single family home.
Interesting.
You're able to add more, to your repertoire and have that other income that's coming in to help offset the costs of owning that asset.
And that separates a serious investor or someone that wants to seriously invest to someone who wants to dabble in it.
Yeah.
It's a commitment when you go into a multifamily situation there.
Absolutely.
I love that. Okay, so speaking of decisions and making first-time home buying decisions, what are some tips that you'd recommend to those first-time home buyers?
Yeah, being a first-time home buyer is super exciting. Number one tip out there is get a good team of professionals together. Make sure you have a great agent who is going to hear your wants and needs, come up with a game plan for you, and match make you with the right professionals to be on your side. Anywhere from attorneys to lenders, home inspectors, making sure that you have somebody who's really experienced in the property types that you want to delve into is going to be incredibly important. And then making sure that you have patience.
Yes.
A lot of my first-time home buyers are nervous or want it to happen overnight. And so definitely take that time to prepare yourself, 6 to 12 months before you actually want to buy.
Right.
So if you know this is going to be the last lease you sign that 12-month lease. Over those 12 months, start connecting with those professionals, start going to some open houses, start learning a little bit more about real estate and putting some of that money aside. So when the time comes, you're ready to go and it isn't such a shock to you.
Yes.
Also, with the low inventory out there, if you're looking for something super specific, it just takes patience. The right agent is going to go out there and do tons of different things to help find that dream property for you, and you just got to hang tight there.
And a dream property it is, and to make that dream reality, you have to have the education,
Yeah.
the tools, the team, and all the things that you're saying. I couldn't agree more. What piece of advice do you wish people knew more about in real estate investing?
Yeah, in real estate investing, I wish more people knew that flips weren't easy and that everything you see on social media and TV isn't how it works in
That's so
real
true.
life.
That is so
I get a
true.
lot of people
Wow.
wanting to do these little lipstick DIY flips, and those can be a little bit hard to sell on the back end of things when you don't address some of the major structural concerns with the property or hire licensed professionals that are going to do work the right way, pull permits, and make sure that they do things by the book. So flipping, is a great part of investing. If that's, a realm that you want to go into, I think it's a great idea, but making sure that you account for paying a proper contractor, getting those permits done, and then the amount of time that goes into doing that work, along with the bureaucracy of the city too, whether you're dealing with demo court, city violations on the property, city inspections, it all takes some time. So you might not get that flip done done in 3 months.
Wow.
A lot of them are taking more like 6 to 9 if you're actually putting in a good job and, taking out the walls, updating the electrical, plumbing, and all of that good stuff that we need to do here in Chicago.
That's a huge nugget of wisdom there, because it is not easy. And like you said, the social media and the TV shows really make it seem like it's so easy, but it's not at all.
Yeah. I think during COVID, we had a huge influx of, TikTok investors, and
Yes.
there's a lot of great advice to be had out there.
Sure,
And I'm all
sure.
for DIY
Absolutely.
projects, especially when it's your own home and you're doing, a simple facelift on your bathroom.
Yes.
But when we're talking about a full gut flip, there's not really a lot of space for DIYers there.
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. So we're talking about advice for investors.
Yeah.
What about advice for new agents and attorneys and lenders
Yeah, absolutely.
that are starting out in the industry?
Sure. I think my best advice is to find a good mentor, a good brokerage right off the bat, somebody who can help, show you the ropes of everything you need to learn after
Yes.
your licensing courses, how to write a contract, how to open a lockbox, all of that good stuff. And then making sure that you follow your passion. So
Yes.
what is it about this industry that you truly love? Niching down into that. And from there, you'll really find your tribe.
Okay. Now, just a few more questions. We're wrapping up here. The contract, the NAR settlements, everything is changing. The landscape of real estate's changing. What are you seeing in contracts now?
Yeah, so I haven't seen too much of a difference on my end. All of my sellers have still been willing to compensate buyers' agents for the most part. Obviously, we'll have a discussion if that's not the case. But for me, it's really just another negotiation point in that contract, right? So
Yes.
when I go in for the listing agreement, we're solidifying my commission, what we're going to potentially offer to the other side. But then when those buyers come in, they're making their ask for the seller to potentially pay that compensation as well.
Yes.
So it's just another negotiation point to be had there.
Right.
And I feel like it's really important to make sure that our buyers are aware
Yes.
up front of what it entails to hire a professional licensed agent, what we're going to do to help ensure that we get as much of that compensation covered by the seller side as possible, but that they may have some balance to pay on their end as well, and making sure that they have a clear idea of the value that we bring to the transaction,
Yes.
all of the fiduciary duties that we owe them, and that we're really going to be here in their corner offering value. So
Yes.
I'm finding a lot of buyers that are coming into the market a little bit undereducated, or agents who still aren't presenting their offers or
Sure.
requests for compensation in the highest and best light possible. So I think there's still some kinks to be worked out there, but as our brokerages go through and educate us, and as we all get more experience with the changes, it'll be easier from then on out. We've had buyer broker agreements as part of our business
Right.
since I started in 2018,
Wow.
but I know a lot of people are just implementing them now for the first time. So it's new contracts to get used to, but I think for the most part, it's still business as usual.
Exactly. And business has increased, and the professionalism has increased,
Absolutely.
which is fantastic, because you have to kind of negotiate your value and explain your value, like you said. So
Of course. If I can't negotiate my value with you, why would you want to hire me to negotiate one of the most expensive things you're ever going to purchase or sell?
which is the next point, negotiation tips.
Yeah.
What do you suggest or want to give to the audience
Sure.
here?
I think every negotiation is unique and has its own set of challenges. So rules of thumb for me are always finding that motivation, finding what is important to my clients, and also what's important to that client on the other end of the deal. So I will always call that agent on the other side, figure out what their timeline looks like with their seller, what particular terms are important to them, anything that's a hardship or a sticking point, and then making sure we have a win-win.
Right.
Because even at the end of the day, if there are things that each party maybe isn't necessarily happy with,
Sure.
if we're able to have kind of a win-win somewhere,
Yes.
everybody has a better attitude about the negotiation overall.
Exactly. And that's the goal, is for everyone to sell or purchase a property and become happy homeowners and
Absolutely.
investors. So what's next for Jessica Teuthorn?
Yeah, so working on building out my team finally. So
Okay.
I have just hired my first leasing agent, Miss Junia. You'll see a lot of her on my social media coming up.
She's great. I
We're
love her.
so excited to have her. We're adding in some admins and virtual assistants,
Good.
transaction coordinators as well. And we'll be a 2 women show for the next year or so. And then at some point here, would love to bring on a buyer's agent as well as I transition to more listings and more of the investment projects that make me happy.
Sounds like the Teuthorn group is afoot.
Yeah, and
Jessica
hopefully some
Teuthorn
fun
group.
investment properties for myself in the near future.
Oh,
So you guys are
totally.
going to get to see a lot of that journey once I acquire my first.
That's fantastic. Last thing here, one piece of advice to our listeners about thriving in your career while living a full life. What would that be?
Yeah, making sure that you find your true passion in the industry. I think that is the most important thing. If you don't love what you do, you're not going to thrive in this industry.
Totally.
It is tough on a day-to-day basis, and you really have to love it in order to, persevere and come out on the other side. And then I would say consistency, education, and collaboration. Always be learning. I love to put my ego aside and always learn something new.
Totally.
I am not a know-it-all. I don't know everything. I'm not an expert in everything. So I'm always learning about new things that interest me or new things that my clients are doing or want to move into. And then collaboration is incredibly important as well. I love to keep a close-knit group of vendor partners that I can refer my clients to, as well as other agents. That way, when we're looking for inventory that's coming up or we need to negotiate on a transaction, we have an existing relationship there. And I think that that's really helped make my career easier.
It's fantastic, Jessica.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming to the show today.
Yeah.
Any way that the audience can reach out to you? What's the best way that they can do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm available all the time by phone, email, and also social medias. You can follow me at Jessica Teuthorn Group on Instagram and Facebook.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jessica.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, RJ.
You're welcome.